The line is Imran Shah, spokesperson for Muslim Public Affairs Committee. It's the UK's leading organisation for empowering Muslims to focus on intelligent political activism to demand their rights. Brother Imran, thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, we see here the United Kingdom's Parliament will be dissolved on Wednesday, so politicians can begin campaigning for December's snap elections. The poll could decide the future of Brexit, but many voters are confused about the different parties' policies. What's your view, of course, and looking again into the Operation Muslim Vote 2019, we'll talk about that as well. But just first tell us about the dissolvement of Parliament and why different people are so confused about different parties' policies.
Well, I mean, in regards to Brexit themselves, the parties need to really get clear as to what their policies are. A number of things have happened. So obviously the Conservative Party, who has been in government for almost a decade now, Boris Johnson has essentially pushed for a deal with the EU. He's tried to push that through Parliament and threatened no deal if he didn't get that through. Now, what's happening with the Conservative Party is that the Brexit Party, which is led by Nigel Farage, if you know that name, he said to Boris Johnson that you need to basically commit to no deal, because your deal, Boris, the deal that you broke with the EU, is not actually Brexit. And so what he's trying to do, Farage, he's basically trying to string ham the Prime Minister and to use leverage with his popularity with Brexiteers up and down the country to have an electoral pact with the Conservative Party. Now, the Conservative Party so far has said, no, we don't want a pact. That will be really bad for our electoral chances. And we are taking formally no deal of our manifesto. We are putting forward Boris Johnson's deal as broken in our manifesto to the voters. So that's only really recent news, and that obviously has to be filtered through to the voters. However, the danger now for the Conservative Party is that Farage has threatened that if you're going to commit to this policy, we're going to up and down the country inform through in the post, in letters, and on the doorstep, and speaking to people what is bad with your deal. And that's really threatening for Boris Johnson, because the leverage he wanted with Brexit in this election will dissolve if Nigel Farage does that. So there's a lot of dynamics happening there. Now, with Labour, they have often been accused of being confused with their policy just because it's taken them a long time for the party to really resolve what their stance is. However, the policy right now is to not choose Boris Johnson's deal because it doesn't protect workers' rights, it doesn't protect jobs. We need to stay inside the custom unions. That means we are removing the UK from the political union itself. And then after broking that deal with the EU, they want to put that deal to a popular vote in a referendum, with remaining in the EU as an option. So there's a number of stages there, and obviously it's quite a mouthful. That needs to be transpired as clear policy. Now, the Lib Dems have done something interesting. Liberal Democrats, they have initially said that we are for another referendum, but confusion started when they said that if we are voted as the largest party in the UK in Parliament, which is almost an impossibility, but if that would happen, then essentially we would simply revoke Brexit and Article 50, and that created a lot of outrage because a lot of people felt that was undemocratic. You should have just stopped the people's vote. So a lot of the positioning, the confusion came from the different positions that's happened in the last 6 months, and now it's time for parties, if they're smart, to really make their policy clear on Brexit.
Of course, when we speak about elections and voting, we more often think of the Muslim vote, and I see here there's quite a huge meaning for Muslim voters on these upcoming elections. But now let's look about the Operation Muslim Vote 2019. What is this campaign aiming at?
So we as an organisation, MPACUK as an organisation, we have been active in the elections, and we've focused entirely on. So we focus on different parties in past elections. So we would look at particular MPs that would have a record of pushing racism and Islamophobia, and also they had a strong Israeli stance. And what we would do is that we would select those MPs in addition to where Muslims can actually change the MP in that seat, so they have enough presence in that constituency to essentially effectively change the seat, and obviously with their vote create demand. So it's not just simply changing the MP, they demonstrate their power and are able to essentially assert demands on that MP. So that's kind of what we have done. We've done in the last 3 elections, we've kicked out 8 Islamophobic MPs, and this election we're campaigning 14 seats, and we're hoping to get all 14 this time. So again, it's the same formula. We're looking at MPs that have a very Islamophobic record, public record. They've supported Israel against the Palestinians, supporting the occupation in particular. In recent times, supported the occupation of Kashmir and the general sort of rhetoric of Modi and his BJP party, and essentially those that are very critical of the issue of the Muslim voice, especially when it comes to foreign policy. So these are MPs that generally they usually are not just one; they have a combination of that 2 or 3, 4 categories. Usually what happens is that the most Islamophobic MPs are also Zionists. So it's very rare that you just have one. And also the party itself, the Tory party itself, has a record of Islamophobia since at least the beginning of this decade. And an interesting statistic, a YouGov poll only commissioned this year in 2019 about, and this was on Tory party members only, Conservative party members only. It said that 49% of the members wanted to put limits on the number of Muslims able to essentially come to the UK. That's essentially a Muslim ban. That's kind of what Trump is kind of talking about. And a lot of them, I think it was around about 49, or perhaps I think it was 53%, believe that there is actually no-go areas for non-Muslims to go. And this is myths and lies that are peddled by the Daily Mail, by and others that are essentially linked to Islamophobia industry. So you have a party that's in power right now with a party membership that is believing thoroughly Islamophobic lies and myths, and this is essentially why this time we're going completely against this party and we're back to Jeremy Corbyn for this election.
Yeah. And when looking to your organization, you have run 3 general election campaigns since 2005. Across that period, you have a 73% success rate. What are the chances of this one actually just doubled, bringing huge success as well?
Well, I mean, elections are messy work, so you can never really, really sort of 100% sort of really commit to whether this seat is going to turn or not. And it's always a surprise. What will happen on the 12th of December. So you can have a general sort of idea. 5 weeks is a long time for campaigning, and we're just about to get on the ground from next weekend. But my expectation is that at least 2/3 of those seats would essentially be successful campaigns. And what we mean by success is that we will kick that MP out and replace them with an MP that's more benign or more friendly towards minorities and to the voices of minorities. But you know, the potential for us to be able to win in all seats is always there, and it really just depends when we get on the ground, how that campaign formulates, what are the local dynamics. It won't be just about Brexit. It will be about the NHS. It will be about the bombing in Syria. It will be about Palestine. It will be about Islamophobia. It will be a lot of things, and it won't be just about Brexit. And that's really important, because what a lot of people thought is that it will be just about Brexit, and when you knock on people's door, there's so many issues that they want to talk about aside from Brexit, and that's already starting to sort of transpire on social media as well. So in terms of success, I at this moment I'm very cautiously optimistic that we'll get at least 2/3 of our seats as a success. But really, we're striving for like the 100% success.
But then, what's your approach in this? You target marginal seats where the Muslim vote is larger than the current MP's majority vote?
Yes, that's right. So wherever the margin is, whether it's 31 votes or it could be a few thousand votes, we look at the Muslim population. Do they have the numbers to swing? And we target Muslim voters, get them registered to vote if they've not already voted, and we essentially knock on their doors. We create digital material, leaflets, memes, and so on that can circulate around the constituency via WhatsApp, and we essentially get the word out. And we make a big sort of conversation around Islamophobia and around the issues that affect Muslims, and that can involve not only just social media work but also liaising and sending press release with the local media in that city or town to create that conversation and to make it more of an agenda point in this election coming up.
But then, what seems to be the general feeling among the people on the ground? Is the campaigning started already, and how's just the general feeling among the people in the UK?
So yes, campaigning has started already. Some parties have started at different pace. There is obviously Labour has started straight away. They've always been campaigning since Jeremy Corbyn came as leadership, and the Tories have started campaigning when Boris Johnson became leader. But the mobilisation of that now is starting to take root. So momentum, its ability to community organise, taking lessons from Bernie Sanders' campaign in America last year, in the last primaries. And from the squad in America, taking lessons from them. They're really starting to mobilise now. The Conservative Party, they're a little bit of there's a sense that they're slower to mobilise, but generally the Tory machine has been very pragmatic, very solid, and very thorough, and they're going to try and fight this election on social media. So I don't think that there'll obviously be a lot of groundwork, but I think they're really relying on social media to essentially get people to vote, come out and vote.
No.
So, but the feeling, I think, is generally that. I mean, what we do know is that really Brexit, in terms of wanting Brexit, is only going to happen amongst the Conservative voters, and Labour voters generally have voted Remain, and so really the issues that will affect people that vote for Lib Dems and for Labour and other parties, there will be people that don't want Brexit but also have a great concern over the NHS and the increase in homelessness, the poverty, the austerity, and so on.
Yesterday, I see the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, apologized for not taking Britain out of the European Union by the 31st of October. He has apologized, literally. But is this apology working for him?
So he's only really apologized to the membership itself because he's failed to be able to deliver on that, and it's quite remarkable because now the fact that he's apologized is a demoralizing force. The party itself has to sort of deal with the failure. They have to go to the public and say like, look, we failed, and so it's quite extraordinary. Someone that came in office with such bravado and flair has now essentially been humbled by Parliament and by essentially parliamentary democracy. As to whether the Tory membership will see that as meaningful, I think they will. I think they'll see that Parliament is the culprit here, is the criminal, not Boris Johnson. As to whether that will work with the public, with Nigel Farage, I'm not too sure. I think a lot of people will take a lot of different views on that. But yeah, I mean, that is another factor I forgot to mention. Boris Johnson himself, he has been consistently seen to be a liar, deceitful, and full of only for his own self-interest. And a lot of people will be thinking, okay, I really dislike Boris Johnson. Who do I vote tactically in order to keep him out of power?
Absolutely. Brother Imran, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and all the best with your campaign. And we'll keep